Hey folks, welcome back to the farm, back in the shop again today. We got plenty to do out here. Need to plant some fruit trees this afternoon, so there's been an implement I've been wanting to make to help with that. So we're going to work on that today in the shop, so stick around and we'll go through it. So, I don't know if it'll be the last video by the time this stuff comes out or what order it comes in, but you saw that we refurbished that post hole digger for my friends in Tennessee. Well, now we're going to do something for our post hole digger. I've been wanting to make a bigger auger for planting fruit trees because all I have is like the 9-inch auger for putting in posts, which I've used for small trees, but we want to make one that will plant like a couple gallon up to like 5 gallon size fruit trees. So we've got a piece of metal to work with and we'll show you what that is. So my friend Doug gave me this big auger section here. I'm guessing it's about 2 feet in diameter this way. But it's just a small section and that's all we need. All we really need is one full revolution to kind of keep things balanced. So it looks like it's had some work done on it in the past. Not the best work in the world, but what we're going to do is, since we only need a short section of this, since the flighting is supported here with this brace, I'm going to take this extra piece of flighting off. We're going to cut that off, and then this piece here kind of lines up with one full revolution. So this other piece here that may not have been added on, we're going to remove that as well. And then we may or may not take this humongous chunk of heavy steel out of the end. That's solid bar shaft, probably 4 inches in diameter, maybe 3.5. But if we can't get that out, we'll leave it there. If not, I'd like to use it on the bottom. We'll make a screw point out of it with some flat steel and some other stuff, using that on the bottom. I've already got the material we need for the coupler on the top and some other material we might need for the shaft. So we're going to get this thing picked up and we'll start cutting some of this excess stuff off. Got our auger section up onto our welding table because I do not like working on the floor, and we still have it supported with a hoist, so it's not as precarious as it looks. So we'll get to cutting this thing. I'm going to get the plasma pulled out. We'll start burning off these sections. Got this top portion cut off. Had to stay above these gnarly old welds because otherwise it wouldn't blow through. So that's it down there on the floor. Now this bottom section only had a few little welds on it, so we just cut those welds with our 4.5-inch grinder. We've got this one on the bottom over here partially cut up under here. And there's a little tiny weld here that's mostly cracked through already. We just need to buzz that real quick with the plasma, break it the rest of the way through. Then this piece here should come off. That piece came off fairly easy. Now you can see here on the bottom that we don't have a straight edge out here to our flight. So what I intend to do is we're going to clean these edges up to where they're straight. And then we're going to cut a piece of this flighting that we took off to extend this out at a 90-degree angle here. We'll weld it top and bottom, and that'll give us a real good cutting edge out here on the bottom. And then I think what we're going to do with this is I'll burn these nuts off of here, see if we can drive these bolts out. And then I'm assuming this is seized in there pretty well. We'll try to put some heat to it, try to get that big plug out of there, because again, I want to use it on the other end. But if we can't get that out, what I'll probably do is take it over to our metal bandsaw. This piece comes down to about right here. And then we'll cut this in our metal bandsaw so we can just work on this piece by itself, and it won't be attached to this big screw here. So let's get this cleaned up over here. Got our pieces cut at straight angles here. Now we've got our old piece of flighting clamped up in here on top of the other one. And when we've made some marks, so we're going to cut with the plasma, and we'll clean that up and get that ready to weld. We'll go ahead and weld that on before we cut our straight edge out here, which I'm assuming is going to probably almost follow this line right there. But we may need to come down a little bit, I'm not sure. But we'll get this piece cut and welded in first. As you can see, we have our piece cut and we have it tacked in. We've got plenty of gap up here, so we're going to get some really good penetration. And then once we weld this side, we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. And then we have to figure out where to make our cut here to make a good cutting surface. But she's coming together. Got her welded in and cleaned up. This weld here I did vertical, so it was a little more penetration going up. So you can see we have this real nice support here on the main tube is what we wanted to keep. So that's why we pieced this in instead of just cutting it straight. So now we'll have a lot better bottom. There's another support right down here. And that's why we just didn't turn it over and use the other end, because we do have that heavy piece down there that we wanted, but it's too far out. And these supports will be a lot better, and this will be a lot better overall piece when we're done. Well, before we get this thing turned around, we cut the heads off the bolts, and luckily the bolts drove out of those holes with a little persuasion, and then that big chunk of steel didn't want to come out, so we took our big frost bar and put it in from the top and beat it with a 3-pound sledge, and it finally spit that thing out. So we're going to get that and put it on the other end, see if we can drive her in there. We got our big stub welded into the end here on the bottom side. And then we needed a point, so I got some 1/4x4 and I notched it to go around the stub and make it halfway inside. And then we cut all the way to the point here. And then the pieces we cut off, I just cut them short, and then they'll lay in here for reinforcement between them. So we'll have a nice little point here. We're going to weld all this up to keep this thing centered, because I'm worried about it wobbling around a lot because there's only one cutting blade here, whereas on my 9-inch there's 2 cutting blades, there's 2 spirals. So we'll get this welded up. I've got a piece of pipe over here for the stem and the collar that goes here on the end of our post hole digger and get the bolt through it, and then we'll be ready to dig some dirt. All right, folks, it's the next day actually. We ran out of MIG wire. We had to go to town and get some of that, And by the time we got done, I had left the lights on the tractor, the battery went dead, so I had to jump start that, and it wouldn't jump last night, so I had to put it on the battery charger overnight. So it's been an ordeal. But we got her done. Here she is, big monster digger. You can see our big point we have down there on the bottom. We've got some cosmetic stuff that we can do. I've done a little bit of cosmetic stuff up here, but that's about it. But like where we cut off the old blade, we can come back later and scarf all that off if we even want to worry about it. If this was for somebody else, I would definitely do that. But for me, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be functional. So let's go see if it functions. It's working. Pretty nice. There we go, folks. We got about a 2 feet deep hole, and it took about a minute and a half to 2 minutes to dig, which is fine. It'd take a lot longer than that to dig that with a shovel. So we're quite pleased with the outcome. She's ready to rock. It's going to save a lot of sore backs. Here you can compare it to the size of a regular post hole. You can see the difference. Well, I would call that a definite success. It does exactly what we're asking it to do. So couldn't ask for much more than that. So we hope you enjoyed the little project we had here with this thing. Maybe someday I'll dress it up and paint it and make it look as good as the last one I refurbished. You can see we've got some junk somebody welded up here on the top that we need to get rid of. Maybe we'll get some paint on it someday. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Make sure you come back and see us here on Mark Kelly Farm. Got lots more going on. We'll try to get some more recipes for you folks that enjoy that content. So until then, see you next time.